Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out. My name is Russell Curry. Like Ryan said, I'm an alumni of the University of California, Irvine. I graduated in 2009 with a degree in biological sciences, but that doesn't matter right now. I'm here in solidarity with the 11 students who protested and were arrested on this campus. I was a member of the Viva Palestina USA convoy to Gaza last July, and I can say firsthand that I've seen a lot of the atrocities that happened there with my own two eyes, and those are the reasons that Michael Oren was being protested. So what I wanted to talk about today was basically this bias in the media and these ideas that are being spread around that the Irvine 11 are equivalent to these racist and basically intolerant individuals that have been causing trouble and doing all sorts of terrible things across the UC campuses. So if you Google the San Francisco Chronicle, the LA Times, or CBS online, there's stories about the Governor Schwarzenegger saying that he's upset with all the, quote, acts of racism and intolerance that have happened over the past couple of weeks on the different UC campuses. Among the different things that were mentioned in this article are the racist Compton cookout at UCSD. I hope I don't have to explain to everybody here why that was a racist act. The planning of something that's essentially modern day minstrelsy and blackface should not have to be explained why that's racist. As the governor so eloquently stated, he mentions in the same vein, in the same breath, the 11 students who protested Michael Oren being on this campus. Now, I want to ask everybody, how on earth can a noose being hung in the library of UCSD, threatening people's lives, threatening my life as a black person, be compared to people who are standing up and protesting the presence of somebody representing a country that, in my opinion, should be tried and will be convicted of war crimes? How is that the same thing? That is why the 11 got arrested. Everybody wants to divert attention to how or whether or not they were exercising free speech and if they were taking away somebody else's free speech. To me, that's not the issue. Of course, in my opinion, they were exercising free speech. This was an act of civil disobedience. And I also would like to bring up, I had the pleasure of listening to and meeting Angela Davis yesterday, who gave a great talk about the prison industrial complex yesterday. And she spoke about the Irvine 11 as well, and brought up a similar point that the fact that somebody should not be allowed to be protested at a campus, especially representing another country that, as Ryan Davis so eloquently put earlier, breaks more UN Human Rights Council violations than every other country combined. The fact that shouldn't be okay when President Bush went to every single country that President Bush went to when he was in office, he got protested. So why shouldn't Michael Oren be protested when he comes here? So I really just wanted to bring these things up, bring the fact up that, you know, things are just being completely biased in the media. And I think that these things, the way that this has been reported is absolutely disgusting to me. It feeds into fear, it feeds into Islamophobia, and trying to connect things like standing up and interrupting Michael Oren to anti-Semitism is completely incorrect. And I'd just like to add that I'd also like to not be interrupted, but I'd like to add that racial slurs were part of the UCSD incident as well as the UC Davis incident. And racial slurs were involved with the Irvine 11 incident. But the Irvine 11 who protested Michael Oren did not get up, stand up and interrupt him and throw racial slurs at him. They were in no way anti-Semitic. They were criticizing the state of Israel.
I couldn't be prouder than to be standing here today on behalf of the UCI 11. And I am so proud of the fact that it is lawyers from the National Lawyers Guild that are representing them and that will continue to represent them until they get the justice they really deserve. Now, the chancellors and administrators of UCI would have you believe that all this is about is the violation of Mr. Oren's free speech rights. They'd like you to think that's what this is all about. They'd also like you to think it's about academic freedom, but that the only culprits here with respect to academic freedom are, of course, the UCI 11. Let's play their game for a moment. Let's look at the matter of free speech rights for the Israeli ambassador. And let's see if they were violated. But before I do that, first of all, if there's one thing that ought to be clear to everybody, is that the point of view of Israel has no difficulty reaching the people of this country. Just turn on your CNN or Fox News or CBS or ABC or NBC any night, and you can hear the point of view of the Israeli ambassador. Indeed, every day in this country, virtually every politician in this country panders to the point of view of the Israeli ambassador. So, don't sit up nights, though, I would suggest, waiting for CNN or Fox or any of the rest to give you the point of view of the Palestinians who are suffering as we speak in Gaza. And certainly don't hold your breath waiting for this university to return the favor and invite a leader from Hamas to come and speak on this campus. Now that would be a piece of academic freedom I'd love to see. But okay, you say, Jim, we're really not talking about the media here, we're talking about what happened here on this campus. All right, fair enough, let's talk about that. First of all, he not only did speak on this campus, he finished his long speech on this campus. In other words, it's not as though he was run off this campus. He was only interrupted in the course of his speech for a couple of minutes. You know, nobody pulled the plug on his microphone. Nobody rang a false alarm for the fire department. Nobody shouted him down so he couldn't complete his speech or make his speech. As they say, 2 minutes. Nobody forced him back into his chair. Nobody did anything that prevented him from getting his point of view out fully to the students at this university. Now, the dean has said that, well, there's something called a heckler's veto, and he's right. Dean Chemerinsky is right. There is something called a heckler's veto. But for there to be a heckler's veto, there have to be two things, right? First of all, there have to be hecklers. Well, we had those. There was heckling, but there was no veto, because he got to make his entire speech. As I say, nobody ran him off campus, out of the room, or prevented him from doing that. So there was no heckler's veto. All right. Now, neither the dean and I, of course, were there. Neither the dean or I were there, but it seems pretty clear to me that, as I say, while there was heckling, there was no veto. All right. So much for the notion that what this is all about, really, is a violation of the First Amendment and the rights of free speech of the Israeli ambassador. Let's move on from that bogus free speech issue and get to the real issue in the case of the UCI 11. And what is that issue? Well, of course, it's the issue that was underlying the reason why the Israeli ambassador was here in the first place, and why the Muslim students who went to his speech acted as they did. The issue, of course, is the issue of Israel and what Israel is doing in the world. You see, the Israeli ambassador, as he had every right to do, came to speak on this campus in defense of Israel and its policies in the Middle East and elsewhere. I say he had every right to do it. And the Muslim students, they didn't just sit on their hands while he did that, because in their minds, and frankly in the minds of most of the civilized world, he was a representative of a nation that is committing and has committed war crimes and gross crimes against humanity.